Hello, and welcome to the Gen X Dad and his Gen Z Teens podcast. This is a program that takes a lighthearted look at generational differences about all sorts of topics. We explore everything from pop culture to history to relationships to politics, but only at a very shallow level. We don't aim to be controversial or be the authoritative voice on any topic. We are not social scientists or scientists of any sort for that matter. We are just here to talk about things that we think are important and that we will have fun talking about. Also, it is my opportunity to publicly and on the record prove that I am right and my teens are wrong in all cases, and that the 80s and the 90s were absolutely the best time to grow up. So our topic for today is some differences in food in how we grew up and relationships towards food. So with that, I've mentioned before, I'm a military guy, and I've been following some of the issues that we're having as far as the overall U.S. military and recruiting. And it seems like all branches are having some degree of a recruiting crisis. There's not enough people that are actually meet the minimum qualifications to join into the armed forces. Now, there's several reasons for that, but one of the main reasons has to do with obesity and then just being out of shape. And what I saw was a number that is basically over 70% of eligible people in the age group don't meet those minimum standards for being, to a large degree, overweight and not being able to meet the physical standards or physical fitness standards. That is just pretty crazy to me, especially considering that I'm not necessarily came from a place that was full of healthy people. I come from southern Louisiana. That's just due to the amazing food that we have down there. Has always had a little bit of a weight problem. Diet is rich in carbohydrates, and just due to the amazing nature of the food, portion sizes tend to be pretty big. But it seems like how that went from our community, which I think was probably less of a standout, to being what's sort of average out there. And what I want to do is talk a little bit about maybe some of my memories about growing up in particularly the 80s and early 90s versus my teen boys. And what they experience. And I'll start it out with, one of the main things that I remember is I actually remember Diet Coke when it first came out. I was relatively young, but I do remember my dad had an office and he had sodas in there. And we didn't really keep sodas in the house, but he had Cokes, and that was always a treat. And then the other thing he had in there was a drink called Tab, and that was the original sugar-free. And I remember my mom drank Tab a bit, and it was just terrible. Have you guys ever heard of Tab or tried Tab? All right, they're shaking their heads. I was surprised. I think it's finally completely been. It's no longer made. But I was surprised. I think that article came out a couple years ago that said that they were finally going to get rid of it. There are clearly people that enjoy certain things, and there was clearly a group of people that love Tab, but I will tell you, I thought it was just absolutely terrible. So that's where the diet sodas kind of started coming in. I think a big part of it was getting aspartame through the FDA, and so that got added into a lot of food. But with that, do you guys, I know you said you didn't know Tab, have you guys tried diet soda? I mean, you guys aren't big soda drinkers in general, but what about sodas, diet sodas? Do you have friends that drink diet soda?
No, not really. I've tried kind of diet soda and diet drinks before, and I mean, they're not terrible, but it's not the same as like a real soda or something, so I prefer to just have the real stuff.
For me, I don't really have a preference. Most of the times I'll go with like the diet version just 'cause I don't really like the super like sweetness of normal soda. That's just me.
Okay. One thing we did not have that you guys, and you guys again are not super big not soda drinkers, but talk to me about energy drinks. So energy drinks did not exist back in the 80s. There was really no such thing. They came about really in the early 2000s, starting mostly kind of with Red Bull, which was sort of a high caffeine, and then 5 Hour Energy, which was some little shot of caffeine. But I know you guys, I see you occasionally with energy drinks. When you look at energy drinks, I mean, what do you look for in there?
For me, I don't like sugar in my energy drinks. I don't really drink them that much though. Like I only drink them unless like I just woke up from a nap and I have to do something, or I woke up really early for something. Otherwise I don't really touch them. But I don't like a lot of sugar or like too much caffeine, or just a lot of like stuff that I know is bad for me.
No, I just look for a good flavor, and again, I mean, I don't like coffee, so that's kind of my energy drinks are kind of my go-to if I need to like stay up late for something, or I'm gonna be out late and I just need the energy. So
Yeah, and that's reasonable. I think one of the problems, though, is there are people who really live off of energy drinks, and particularly the high sugar ones, which, if I haven't, well, I haven't said it yet, but that's really part of my premise is a lot of the sugar in our diet is, I think, what's, in my opinion, causing a lot of the problems we're having with being overweight. I know I've had some to cut back on my sugar, and wow, it was amazing with going really kind of becoming aware of it in a way that I've never been before. Certainly helped me. And I think that is one thing, we just didn't really think about it that much, but then, we didn't have the internet distracting us. We didn't have video games in the same way that you guys have them now, and certainly not the convenience of having them in our hands constantly and available to us. So I think there was a lot more of just getting out and being active that we had, which helped with our food and fitness. But one of the other things was the availability of fast food. Now, this is a little bit of an issue because I grew up in a very small town. I mean, we didn't even have a McDonald's. My town has one now, but we didn't have one until my senior year in high school. So we didn't have every manner of fast food, and they really weren't nationalized the way they are now. And then take that with you guys living in a big city where we have basically access to all manner of fast food. That just wasn't a big part of at least my life growing up. I mean, it was actually a treat to go to McDonald's because we had to actually go to another town to have it. What are your guys's? I don't know that I think we eat a lot of fast food, but give me your opinion on fast food.
I mean, I like it. I mean, it's easy, it's convenient, it tastes good most of the time. I mean, it's obviously it's not perfect. It's still fast food, so there's stuff I would rather have over it. But a lot of times, like a lot of good fast food places, can do the job.
So, what are some of your favorite ones?
Some of my favorite are I like Cane's, I like Popeyes, for kind of chicken. I like In-N-Out, Taco Bell. That's like my favorite.
Same thing as him. For me, like all the other ones, like they're fine, but like I feels like I'm kind of at the point where just like I don't really like the taste of it. I don't really know why. I just stick with those four.
Okay, well, I mean they're high in salt, so that might be part of it. The other thing was, having grown up in the 80s, particularly I'll just use McDonald's. What is now their small size, that used to be the large. So portion sizes have just exploded. And to some degree, I was tied to me, at least in my opinion and experience, was tied to Carl's Jr. going national with their big giant hamburgers. I think that put pressure on a lot of people, other fast food chains, and McDonald's went with the whole supersize me. Thankfully, that has gone away because I think that caused way more problems than anything it was seeking to fix. But again, I remember when I go in there now, I distinctly remember. I mean, when you ask for a small size or the regular size, that was what a large was, both the fries and this particularly the drink. The burger sizes really haven't changed much, or maybe even gotten a little smaller. But a Big Mac was considered. I mean, now I don't think many people would consider like a Big Mac a giant hamburger. Well, that was considered a giant hamburger growing up. I remember when I was little going like, oh, I can finally have a Big Mac and get through it. And I think nowadays, I mean, people will eat multiples of them. And I think that's part of it, just how the portion sizes have increased on us going forward. And as far as fast food, the trouble with fast food is, again, I don't mind fast food. I try and avoid it for my own particularly health reasons. I just don't think I should eat it that much. But it is a relatively cheap way to eat. And you've heard me talk to you guys about this, and then we'll have this for another episode. But actually, eating healthy in the way that, a lot of times we're told to eat is actually the most expensive way to eat. And that gets tough going forward. One of the other things, and we'll talk about this, but you guys have heard me, at least privately, to you guys rant about, what I've learned about sugar and how I think, to some degree, sugar is poison. It is interesting to watch because back in the 80s, it was all fat. That was what they talked about. And you'd avoid fat and stay away from fat. And I do remember this, and I've talked to you guys about this, but there was a company called Snackwell that came out with all this fat-free, all these sweets. An entire corridors in grocery stores were just filled with Snackwells, and everybody thought like, oh, there's no fat in it. We're all going to be fine. We can have all of this stuff to eat, and obesity rates and overweightness just exploded because it turns out that fat wasn't the problem. It was sugar. Now you won't even find Snackwells anywhere because these things were just loaded up with carbs and sugar. So with that, do you guys, well, first off, is there some awareness of watching out for that? Do you guys talk? Again, I appreciate you guys are at a very active stage in your life and you're very active, but is there an awareness? Because that caught all of us back in the day. We were harped on about it was fat was the problem, not sugar. And what do you guys think? Does that message resonate with you guys?
Yeah, now that everyone kind of knows that, it's taught in like health classes and stuff like that, and it's just kind of a known thing that sugar's kind of been most of the problem.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Okay. Do any of your friends or anybody you guys talk to, is this a topic of conversation in any way?
Not really. Like you kind of said, like, we're at the age where it doesn't actually really matter that much.
Everyone already knows, so no.
Okay. When you look at it, just from a generically how fit we should be as just a society, that is a certain degree, because, you guys have heard me talk about like diabetes, adult onset diabetes runs in our family to some degree. And so we need to be aware of that. Because, again, it's not just being born with the genetic markers, it's the susceptibility to it. With that, have you guys heard about the drugs that are out there that help people with appetite control and are helping them lose weight?
Yeah, I have.
I don't really know anything about them, but yeah.
Okay. Well, there is something out there that I think, is the closest you have to a magic pill or something that can help. And I think that's a good thing, because doing nothing or just relying on individuals with the amount of marketing and processing of food and things like that we have is it's going to take all of us. It's not enough for anyone alone to deal with. So with that, I think that's all we're going to talk about today. Again, this is a bigger conversation. I just wanted to touch base on things that were different, which again, going back to portion size, the amount of sugar in the food, and just the availability of it out there. So I think that's all we have for today. I want to thank everyone for listening in. Please leave any comments if you have any, and continue to listen to the Gen X Dad and his Gen Z teens. We'll come to you with new episodes each and every week. Thank you.